Welcome everyone to our webinar. We will be starting in around 1 minute. So just sit back, get comfortable. This will be a relaxing section. Yeah. So hopefully all your AirPod is charged already. Your laptop is charged and you can hear me properly. Okay, let's just wait for. So let's be patient. In around 1 minute, we will start the webinar. Okay. Great. Okay, I see a lot of people are joining the call. Thank you so much for coming today. Okay. So welcome everyone to our webinar today. My name is Mimi and I lead the Finance, Accounting and Audit Division at Randstad. Today, I will be moderating the live webinar. And first of all, I would like to thank everyone here for joining us. I will appreciate 45 minutes of your time, and our aim is to have you leaving this webinar with some practical takeaways back to your office, to your talent management strategies. So first of all, before I begin, I just want to start with 2 house rules. Number 1, if you have any questions for us, for the speakers, just type in the Q&A features at the bottom of your screen. And secondly, this webinar will be recorded in case you need a copy to share after. Right. So throughout this webinar, you will very often hear us using the acronym REBA. What it stands for is Randstad Employer Brand Research. This is the biggest annual marketing research at our company. And the goal of REBA is to understand how the candidates perceive the job market, as well as the value of the greatest companies globally. And I'm very proud to say that this is our 10th anniversary, but also our very first time doing this on a webinar format, incorporating our research findings, as well as a panel discussion. So just looking at into the screen, I can see we have got different attendees from corporate investment banks, insurance, asset management, and some of you are from the securities services sector. So I'm sure that we are all facing the same challenge, which is how to secure the top talent given the current pandemic, digitalization, and globalization. Today, I'm very proud to invite our 3 speakers to share their best practices of talent management. First of all, I would like to welcome Alex Bowen, who is the COO of PayMe HSBC. So Alex actually comes his career ladder from a cashier to the top management at one of the finance banks in Hong Kong. Alex, it's really good to have you here, and he will be representing the emerging and tech-driven industry. Secondly, I would really want to welcome Raffat Raza, who is the head of HR from Manulife Regional Office. So Raffat, he actually has a wealth of experience in talent management within the insurance sector. He will be giving us some contrasting perspective from the traditional financial institutions. And finally, Barisha, she is our senior manager from our global client servicing team. Barisha works very closely with our top-tier clients, providing full suites of talent solutions from traditional recruitment, volume hires, outplacement, upskilling, contracting, etc. Yeah, so basically for the agenda today, it will be into 2 parts. First of all, Barisha will be giving a short presentation about the REBA findings. And second part will be followed by our panel discussion by our 3 speakers. So without waiting any further, let's begin our first poll. So now on your screen, you should see a question. Considering all factors except COVID, Would you rather work in Hong Kong or Singapore? So can you select your choice? We would have 30 seconds for you. All right, is everyone ready? Okay, so let's look at the results. All right, so 76% of us actually prefer to work in Hong Kong. Apparently, it's a more popular option, and I'm really interested to understand why this is the case. And now, Barisha is going to give us more context between the job market in Hong Kong and Singapore. Barisha, over to you.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mimi, for the introduction. Most of you probably know me, lots of familiar faces, and if you don't, I'm clearly not doing my job, so let's hope my boss is not on the call. My role is actually centered around working with top-tier investment, corporate, and retail banks, as well as insurance, security houses, investment managers, fintechs, and beyond. Having worked with this caliber of candidates, I can definitely tell you that we're all very much on the same boat. Right? Everyone's dealing with a talent scarce market. And I do think it's a great thing to have this webinar today because as a community, we can try and get to the bottom of how to tackle the issue of talent scarcity through our employer brand. To give everyone a bit of context, Reba is a core part of Randstad's identity. We survey over half of the global economy and rank over 6,000 companies to understand three things. One, who do people want to work for? Two, why they want to work for them? And finally, how can companies attract and retain talent? Let's start small. I'll start by telling you about why your employer brand is so important. Have you ever heard of a company's name and thought, oh no, I don't really want to work there? Or as a flip, heard about a firm and thought, absolutely, when can I get an interview? I think the difference between those two reactions lie in your employer brand. If a candidate does not know much about your company, or rather has no sense of what it would be like to work for you, they're not going to do it. Statistically speaking, you can hire twice fast if you have an employer brand that is strong, transparent, and most importantly, relatable. I work for Randstad Hong Kong, and I can vouch that what I was told during the interview process has displayed itself through the culture, the work away program, the opportunity. And while, of course, I am biased, I can proudly say that Randstad has an honest and evolving employer brand. I guess that's why I'm still here. Now let's zoom into the bigger reason on why you should focus on your employer brand. Talent scarcity. The combination of COVID, social unrest, general exits has contributed to the already limited talent pool that Hong Kong has, which essentially puts a lot of pressure on the financial services industry to ensure that they put their best foot forward to hire, attract, and retain talent. So over the next couple of slides, I'll explain how the overall appeal and awareness of the financial sector has dropped. Thereafter, we'll look a little bit at the Hong Kong and Singapore markets, do a bit of compare and contrast on what value each of these markets bring to their candidates outside. I will also briefly explain why candidates moved around in 2021 and what they expect from potential employers. Now, this slide may be a bit of a downer for all of us sitting in financial services. Hong Kong and Singapore do remain to be Asia's playground for financial institutions. However, there has been a single-digit drop in the attractiveness and a double-digit drop in the awareness of these companies. This is where banking and insurance is actually positioned this year. I'll give you a quick few seconds, just have a look, see. Some of this may be surprising, some of it not so much. Bit of comfort here for everyone. It's less about why banking and insurance has dropped and more about why the other industries have gone up. We'll touch on this during our panel discussions, and if you have any questions on this, your Q&A box can now be used. This is the same for Singapore. Yeah, displaying that despite the results showing that financial services in Hong Kong is dropping, Singapore is following suit at a different degree, of course. However, Hong Kong and Singapore are both active job markets where candidates are moving. So now let's talk about why candidates submitted their resignations in 2021. Okay, so here's the answer to the million-dollar question that you might have. Research has suggested that Hong Kong has submitted their resignations in 2021 due to three factors: lack of training, lack of job security, and uncertainty around the financial stability of the firm. Singapore candidates did the same for work-life balance, job security, and of course, salary and benefits. I guess it's worth sort of being mindful that financial services in these cities are often vulnerable to media scrutiny, which then creates question marks. With any question mark comes uncertainty. And while we are not able to control everything, we can control our employer brand. So these are the 5 EVPs that Hong Kong and Singapore financial service institutions can offer. Why I'm sharing this information? Because it's worth knowing that each of these markets have their own competitive edge. But there are many questions that clients sort of say to us, sort of ask us, where they go, why can we not hire the right people? Why are people leaving Hong Kong for Singapore, vice versa? How and why do we convince them to stay? So I want to say that this will create a bit of a context on how you can answer these questions. The research suggests that both of these former British colonies have their individual competitive advantages. Singapore doubled their fintech share in the last year, opened borders, access to resources across Southeast Asia, also standing very high and tall for quality of life and work-life balance. Hong Kong, on the other hand, has experienced a bit of talent drain for sure, and all of us are definitely feeling a bit of pain. However, Hong Kong does stand strong with their IPO deals, access to China, untapped wealth, resources, and the ease of getting visas alongside its dynamic city culture. And of course, and I hope all of you are nodding along with me, great tax brackets. Now that we have a sense on what each market can bring to the table, and right before we dive into our panel discussion, I just did a bit of research on talent drain. Actually, one of my friends sent me this article that I thought was quite interesting. And I just wanted to share this message with everybody. The most effective long-term approach for countries to stem their brain drain is to discourage citizens from leaving in the first place by giving them a reason to stay. This means providing better jobs, more opportunities, and a higher standard of living. That's all from me. Let's dive straight into our panel discussion to take away best practices and practical examples from Raffat and Alex on how to manage talent in this market. Thank you. I'm going to unshare my screen now. Mimi, back to you.
Thank you so much, Farisha. That was a really strong statement at the end. Yeah, I have to totally agree with you that employer branding is so important, and it is definitely within our control. So let's get to the most exciting part of the day, which is our panel discussion. Just to remind you all, Q&A section is now open. If you have any questions for our speakers, please type into the Q&A box. We will try to answer as many as possible. So without waiting any further, let's meet Raffat and Alex right now. So Raffat, I have actually prepared a mini surprise question for you.
All right. Okay. Let's hear that.
Oh, can you tell us one thing about your career that we wouldn't find from your LinkedIn profile?
So about my career,
Yes.
I think I'm really interested in UI UX, and that's something that I've been picking up for the last couple of years. And I've started seeing I nitpick on things, and I've started seeing UI UX issues with real life issues. So I'm doing some studies on it. So hopefully, maybe my next move will be in UI UX.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. That was very interesting. And Alex, first of all, congratulations, because I've heard that you have just completed a big project on the government consumption vouchers. And by the way, everyone, just so you know, consumption vouchers is now available on PayMe. And if you don't have a PayMe account yet, do register right after this webinar. I'm sure that Alex has prepared something for us for free.
Thank
Alex,
you, Mimi.
Same question for you. Can you tell us one thing about your career that we wouldn't find on your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, so probably the one thing that's not on there, actually something I haven't got, and I'll probably touch on it as later on, but I've not got any kind of university degree or qualification, so it doesn't form part of my LinkedIn, which is not, I guess, common in today's industry. But I'm very comfortable and confident in speaking about it, but it does continually surprise people that I didn't go through higher education.
I see. Thank you so much for sharing some interesting facts about yourself, Alex and Raffat. All right, so how about let's begin our second poll. I have a question for everyone. So on your screen, you should see a question. What makes you want to continue your career in Hong Kong? So 30 seconds again, please select a choice of your answer. Right, let's give everyone 5 more seconds. And let's take a look at the results. All right, so I think this is not too surprising where family is the most important factor to consider in our job search. So yeah, so I mean, for now, I see a lot of firms have already taken actions to move their functions such as technology, marketing from Hong Kong to Singapore. Alex, so I do have a question for you, and this will be in 2 parts. So you come from a very tech-savvy payment industry. Do you think that fintech scene in Singapore is much more attractive than in Hong Kong? And if that's the case, how motivated are Hong Kong locals to relocate for this job in Singapore?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Mimi. So I think I think not just Singapore. I think every market has different stages of fintech growth, whatever that kind of looks like. But what I continually see in Hong Kong is opportunity. You only just have to take a look at the landscape. We've got a raft of virtual banks at different levels of maturity. We've got traditional banks and financial services providers continually digitizing and developing their customer journeys. And then we've got products like PayMe, which is kind of entrepreneurial. It's an in-house fintech startup, and I think it's that diversity that makes Hong Kong the more exciting proposition for both talent inside and outside of Hong Kong. And I think as well that kind of correlates to what I've seen in terms of our hiring and our roles as well. Yes, we've seen people leave their roles for other countries, but I think that's fairly normal for Hong Kong. And I only have to look at our current recruitment list. I think we've made 6 or 7 offers in the last couple of weeks, 2 of which to people outside of Hong Kong, and the remainder are being filled with candidates inside Hong Kong. So I think that just shows the strength of the industry in Hong Kong, in financial services in general. It's got so much to offer that's different and unique. I think it continues to grow opportunity, which makes it exciting for people inside and outside.
All right, okay, thank you, Alex. And how about Raffat? I mean, representing the traditional FIs, in terms of talent attraction, what is the competitive edge of Hong Kong over Singapore? What's your view on this?
Okay, so I'll start by putting it out there that Hong Kong is the powerhouse of talent, right? It's nothing against Singapore, but Hong Kong is the powerhouse. We believe between Hong Kong and Singapore, there is tremendous amount of talent that's available and high caliber talent that's available. And it is a very, very competitive for both locations. When it comes to Hong Kong, like Marisha mentioned in her speech earlier as well, the financial services do tend to play a slightly bigger role vis-a-vis other industries. So if you're talking about FMCGs, if you're talking about the Googles and the Facebook, they might have a bit more towards Singapore, whereas Hong Kong is a lot more towards the financial services because of all the things that Marisha mentioned. In terms of attraction towards Hong Kong, look, every economy goes through some periods of changes. We in Hong Kong obviously are much more aware of the challenges that Hong Kong has, but you would see the same narrative in Singapore as well. If we talk about Hong Kong having some people leaving Hong Kong, you look at Singapore news media, you will see the same kind of narrative coming from Singapore as well. So the grass always looks greener on the other side, but Hong Kong is really where where the bulk of the talent for Asia is, together with Singapore. And we have no doubt, Manulife has absolutely no doubt that Hong Kong remains right in the center of our growth strategy. Hong Kong is our regional headquarters. Hong Kong remains critical to our business, notwithstanding any other organization footprint where we have in Vietnam, in the emerging markets, in Singapore and Japan and China as well. But Hong Kong remains our powerhouse, and we are fully committed, and we have all the confidence that Hong Kong will continue to be. Look, Hong Kong is an old city, it's gone through many ups and downs. It is resilient. We are all in Hong Kong, we're all Hong Kongers. We know it's as resilient as it gets. So nothing really to worry about on that side.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Raffat, for giving us some more confidence on the Hong Kong market. So to all attendees, again, if you have any questions about like Hong Kong versus Singapore market, then please type it in the Q&A box. We will answer your questions as soon as we can. Okay. So Barisha, earlier in your presentation, you mentioned the attractiveness and awareness of the banking financial services industry actually dropped compared with previous year. To be honest, this seems a little bit worrying. And what are your on-ground observations?
Well, okay, so I appreciate that we do feel it is a bit worrying. This is the way I think about it, right? As I mentioned, while financial services does stand very strong in the awareness bracket, Hong Kong is still the financial services hub, right? But there are several other industries that are taking lead with the attractiveness. I'll give you a simple example, okay? If we were to look at companies like CLP or MTR, they are sitting part of the energy and environmental industry, as we would say. They are government and state-owned organizations, right? Or government and state-owned backed, at least. These kind of firms echo stability, whereas the banking and financial services organizations are slightly more sensitive to market fluctuations, political and social effects. And this makes sense because it's aligned to the research that shows candidates will choose to move to firms that echo job security and financially stable companies. So it's not surprising per se that these companies are ranking slightly higher on the attractiveness part. As a contrast, let me provide some comfort. While we have seen an exodus of candidates to different industries, fintech starting their own businesses or leaving Hong Kong altogether, it may genuinely seem drastically higher. So fair enough that there is a bit of concern. I do see it as slightly higher than healthy turnover. We can't ignore what's happening in Hong Kong, but we should also acknowledge the stature that financial institutions hold in Hong Kong. Candidates are still very much playing musical chair effects across similar firms, but now they hold slightly more bargaining power. And I hope I'm seeing lots of hiring managers and HR sort of nodding their head with me. So to all of our clients, Hong Kong is still very much the financial services hub. But what we can deduce is that employer brand now is more important than ever because the candidate pool is even more scarce because of competing industries, brain drain, and all the other factors that we've discussed. So hopefully both Alex and Raffat will be able to give you a bit of practical tools and takeaways on how to be more competitive within your industries. Back to you, Mimi. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Barisha. All right, so I think there's a clear type of talent war between traditional FIs and the innovative industries, such as payment, crypto, blockchain, and electronic trading platforms. Raffat, so from your perspective, can you tell us one effective strategy that Manulife is using to compete with the innovative companies?
Sure. When you talk about innovative companies, one thing that comes up first is their acceptance of new technology. And that's where incumbent large organizations like ours have a big opportunity, where we have all the data, all the customers that any new company can aspire for. And we just need to unlock it with new forward-looking technology. Right? A lot of new technology companies have great technology. They're looking for customers. They're looking for business. We already have the business. We just need to improve our technology. And that's where Manulife, I think, genuinely is playing a very, very strong role. Imagine being able to move 50,000 policies which were issued in 1990 to a new technology platform, right? And straight through processing. If you make a transaction on your mobile app would it will instantly reflect on your decisions, whether you are using your MPF, whether you're using your life insurance, whether you're using your health insurance. All of those transactions slowly and surely are becoming real time, which is how we attract the talent and say, look, come make legacy system work even better for newer system. That's the edge that we are trying to provide to the future focused tech talent.
I see. Okay. And Alex, so from your experience, for those like your colleagues who left PayMe, are they moving back to traditional FIs or are they moving to somewhere else?
Yeah, I think the beauty of PayMe is it's a fintech within a bank, and the skills that people learn in our team are absolutely perfect for them to kind of then take on within the wider organisation of HSBC, which is certainly on the more traditional side, albeit there's huge digital transformations going on in every business line that feeds into HSBC. So whilst we've kind of seen a few people leave for other startups because that's sort of their preference to go to a firm that's really kind of just trying to get off the ground. PayMe's evolved over the last 5 years. We've got 2.8 million customers now. We're not a startup anymore. But what we have seen that we're really proud of is our top talent spend a good 2 or 3 years within PayMe and then go and make a real difference in flagship roles across HSBC, across the breadth of where we operate. And I think that's an amazing opportunity.
Okay. So I think it's very safe. It's safe for us to say that both Hong Kong and Singapore are equally competitive, and similarly, traditional FIs and innovative industries maintain their attractiveness. So I would now want everyone to make a vote for this final poll, which will appear on your screen very soon. At what stage and how do you communicate the company's EVPs to prospective candidates? And can you select your choice of answers? All right. Okay, so let's take a look at the results. Okay, so career website is the most popular choice. I mean, this is very interesting because there are many different answers. And from our point of view, EVP should be communicated throughout the entire talent management process. There are 3 key stages, including attraction, hiring, retention. Alex, let's talk about attraction. When you hire a new talent for your team, what are your 3 EVPs that you would promote to them?
Okay. So again, I think this is part of the great luxury and benefit that we have being part of the HSBC organization. So HSBC and de facto PayMe is able to offer that range of benefits that we've got. We've got fantastic health insurance, generous wellness budget, a really solid pension proposition. Generous annual leave, I think 30 days annual leave plus public holidays. But we also talk a lot about mobility and opportunity. So we're a global bank, we're in over 60 plus countries, and whilst today you could be joining a product like PayMe, there's nothing stopping you from aspiring to go and use the experience you've gained with HSBC and use its network and its rails to go and work in a completely different continent, a completely different country. And that's something that I've been lucky enough to take advantage of myself. Probably the only other relevant benefit that I always talk about when I'm hiring as well is culture. So certainly in PayMe we do have the license to do things a little bit differently because we're a bit smaller, we're a bit more nimble. We are, as probably everyone is at the minute, fully hybrid, but that's here to stay. That's not hybrid in pandemic and then changes. We're an absolutely fully hybrid operation, and we're very much people first as well. And we've got some great volunteer teams creating initiatives that we're able to drive within PayMe, and small things like coffee buddies for new joiners, to like a fully mapped learning program where people get different tasters across all of the various departments in PayMe, so they can kind of enhance their learning over sort of a semi 6-month program. And I'll add a quick fourth whilst I'm thinking about it. Learnings, because it was on Barisha's slide in terms of learning and career development. We've got something in-house called HSBC University, which is an amazing online learning centre where you can access qualifications, you can access courses on leadership or asset and liability management. So it's got a whole kind of host of learning opportunities that is just so easy to access and do, most of which are at zero cost to the individual. So and if there is any cost, it's only departmental cost, which means the individual doesn't need to bear anything. So I think that's a great set of EVPs whenever I'm talking about hiring within PayMe and HSBC.
Thank you so much for sharing about the EVPs. And actually, while Alex was speaking, I've just got an amazing question from one of our audience, Faye, who is a HR director from an investment bank. And Barisha, this is actually a question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah,
so
go for
this
it.
question is, what would you suggest to employers about incorporating the EVPs into their hiring process? What's your view on this?
This is my view about incorporating EVPs into the hiring process. I was actually just having this conversation just the other day with one of my other clients. I wonder if it's the same person who's asking this question. I think one common views that clients have is that EVP should be highlighted only at offer stage, or that the recruiter will do it for them. Perhaps the candidate will hear it in the market, or as some of the people said on the poll from the website. The truth is, hiring begins the second you put up an advert or post anything on social media, or when you share the role with a recruiter. Hiring is very similar to selling. You highlight the key aspects of what a company can offer to groom, grow, and define careers for your candidates.
Okay, and do you have any practical takeaways?
Yeah, I've got a couple, but for the sake of time, I'll maybe give you 2 or 3. So yeah. I'd say my first and probably most important one is allowing your line managers to participate in highlighting the EVP. They're the face of each department. They're the people that your candidates are spending 40, 50 hours a week with. And they want to know if this manager can support and grow their career. And while HR does an excellent job in providing a generic introduction to the firm, a line manager will be able to highlight an insider's perspective on what a candidate can truly expect. So I think it's very important to have both. The second one, and it actually is very interesting to me that some companies do this and some companies don't. There are job description templates that you can add sections to highlight EVPs, okay? So this could be anything from spousal insurance, work-life balance, work-away programs, flexible working hours, as well as open door policies. And of course, feel free to add annual leave or any other fringe benefits. But many companies still don't do it. They may put down their core values, which is fine, but you're leaving a lot of room for interpretation. And candidates may not be able to translate that into a benefit for why they should join your firm. Last but not least, of course, we still have COVID, we're living with it. I think one thing that can differentiate firms is that if you make good use of your final round interviews. First, have both line managers and HR attend. And second, if you absolutely can, have it be face-to-face. Face-to-face interactions still very, very much increase engagement. I think it's just as simple as that. So those are my 3. Over back to you, Mimi.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And those are really practical advice. So just to share a case from my personal experience, in fact, just last week, my candidate actually rejected my offer with a 42% salary increment. And can anyone guess why? That's purely because the candidate heard about the company's poor reputation from his friends, which was the only deal breaker. So when word of mouth has such a huge power where no amount of money is enough, I cannot emphasize how important it is to promote your employer brand. Yeah, so now we have covered attraction, hiring. Definitely, we cannot ignore retention. But first, let's hear your view on an issue that many companies are struggling with: counter offers. So as a traditional institution like Manulife, what is your position on counter offers as a retention strategy?
Okay, so listen, counter offers is a reality of life, right? So if any company says they do, a company of sizable size and scale say they don't do counter offers, that would be unrealistic. You've got hundreds and thousands of employees, and while all of us try to do right for all of our employees, we genuinely in our heart knows that there is still a big room for all of us to improve the experience further. So if a counter offer scenario comes to us, which it does, one thing what we do very carefully is just not look into the comp side of it. So before we decide on, okay, you're getting an offer of 20%, do I need to match it or not? We need to really understand what drove you to look for that opportunity. Right. So obviously, if you're looking for an opportunity, you will go for a better opportunity in terms of your compensation as a minimum. But what made you look out is what I'm more interested in to know what was, and that could have been 6 months ago. 6 months ago, you were supposed to have a performance conversation and your manager did not give you that time. And that's when you decided, you know what, this is not working out for me. I'm going to brush up my CV and I'm going to send it to Marisha. I want to understand that point. I want to understand why did that happen, and I'll try to fix that. In some of the cases, employees tell us. In some of the cases, we have to cajole them. In some of the cases, we have to assume some of those things. We also see, have we been giving them right career rotations? Have we been giving them right career opportunities? Are they being promoted? Are they being given salary increments realistically? And if the answer is no, we could have done better, which, to be very honest, is case in some time as well. We see, okay, we will look at the counter offer, but it needs to go hand in hand with some of the other things. You just can't put more money in because somebody else will put more money on it. And then what? It's just a price competition. So we work with the line manager and tell them, yes, counter offers we can, but try to understand what else needs to happen. And we make sure that that thing is done a bit more. So that's how we look at counter offers.
Okay, thank you so much, Raffat, for sharing more about Manulife. So now we are moving to the fireside chat. We have actually asked our speakers to prepare a question for each other, and we're really excited to hear what it is. Raffat, shall we start with your side first? What would you like to ask Alex?
All right, Alex. So my question is very serious. I saw your LinkedIn and I see you've been with HSBC/PayMe for 20 years. So definitely they have a kindergarten program because you enroll at that point, right? What has kept you with HSBC and PayMe for the last 20 odd years?
Thanks, Raffat. You're very kind. So 21 years this year, man and boy. So I think for me, it's been about both the people and the opportunity. And if I touch on the opportunity first, there's so much opportunity if you want to take it. Just a high school graduate going into an organization for the first time, I found very much that actually, it's your attitude and your approach that can, get you noticed and get you doing things. I use that as a motivator to me to just learn and do better. I was hungry to learn. I wasn't someone who didn't want to learn. It just that academically that wasn't an environment that I was able to thrive in. So that's why I went straight into industry, and that's kind of been the case throughout my career. That there's always been opportunity, and that's what I love most working for a global firm like HSBC. And just that ability to go and work anywhere where HSBC operates just gives you a nice comfort blanket, knowing that the processes, the policies, the structure, the matrix. You don't have to go and relearn that, but you could go and work in a completely different section, a completely different role, and it would be just like working in a new job. And then finally, the people. It sounds a bit cliched, but honestly, I've met so many great people across the globe that kind of all very much believe in HSBC's mission, to help customers and businesses thrive in one way or another. It's not always been the tagline, but HSBC has always kind of been very much a customer and people first organization. I've had good bosses, but I've also had bad bosses, but I've also had a fantastic core network of people. And while some of them change and some of them go, I've seen this core network grow, and I've kind of grown with it. So that's kind of what's kept me there for so long. And I generally do enjoy working for HSBC and PayMe as well. But if anybody wants to double my salary, I'll happily come and have a chat. So I'll leave that on the table too.
We're very glad to hear that you're enjoying your life at HSBC. Thank you so much for sharing, Alex. So Alex, how about yourself? What have you prepared for Raffat?
Yeah, so Raffat, I think I'd love to know from your point of view, HR professional, worked in HR across many companies. What's the one, or is there a policy that you would love to see implemented across every company in Hong Kong that would really benefit its people?
Sure, Alex, can I give two? All right, so I'll go with two. One of them is paternity leave. I genuinely feel that Hong Kong as a market has improved tremendously, but we still have not had paternity leave as much as we should. So we still go for maternity leave, and we give fathers 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks in most companies. I think most companies now need to acknowledge that raising a child is a whole family's job, and it's just not the mother. And the fathers want to be and should be made involved in the whole child raising process. So I think we should go for that. That's one. The second, which I'm not sure how to put it in a policy yet, is bring the whole self to work. I think many of us bring a view, a position, a brand that we have, and we're not always authentic at our workplace. With work from home becoming a reality, like Alex just said, the lines are blurred between where we conduct the work from. It's not always and only in the office. So I think organizations should make it easy and accessible for people to bring their original, authentic and complete self to work. How we put this into policy is easy. How we put this into practice is immensely difficult. But yes, that's something that I would want all organizations to really focus on.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us. Those are really interesting questions for each other. Okay, and now I'm taking a look at our Q&A section. And just to remind everyone, if you have any questions for our speakers, please type it in the Q&A box. And let's take a look at what questions we have from our audience. All right, okay, so I have got a question from Leslie. And this is one specifically for Alex about PayMe culture. So could you share an example of how you have used PayMe's culture to retain your talents? What's your view on that?
Yes, no problems in sharing examples. So one of the, I guess it goes hand in hand with culture, but we've got a real tangible vision in PayMe, with what we want to achieve over the next 4 or 5 years, and we've done a lot of work with our teams over the last 6-12 months, about seeking their input into the vision and how they can help bring it to life. And one of the most amazing things about working in PayMe is because it is fairly small. There's only a couple of hundred people, but you only have to look at some of the CVS advertising, right? I can walk past that on the MTR and I can list a group of people who I've sat in a meeting with who I know, they designed that, they did that, they got that contract agreed. I think people find a real sense of pride when they see something that they've been able to take such a close part in, launched, released out there into the market. And I think that is a really big part of kind of the culture, the inclusive culture that we are building here. And I think that there's lots of the fringe benefits that I think people enjoy, but I think certainly looking at that, I know that my head of transformations had numerous offers both inside and outside of PayMe, but it refuses to go because she's on the mission, she's on the journey with us. She wants to, she believes in what we're doing. and she's not ready to put that to one side. And there'll come a point when she feels ready, and we'll be absolutely there to support her when she's ready, and hopefully we can retain her within the wider organisation. But I think that's living proof that when you build and create something that's got that closeness and inclusion, you can really retain people very well without even realising it.
Okay, thanks for sharing the culture at PayMe. All right, so the next question we have is from one of our audience, Afanish. The question to you guys is that, do you think Hong Kong is arguably moving from its needs for candidates to be maybe somewhat bilingual to more trilingual in nature? If that's the case, how can we make Hong Kong more appealing to candidates from abroad or those that might not be multilingual? What's your view on this? How about you, Raffat? Do you have any views?
Sure, I think I'll have a stab at it. So look, I'll talk about for-profit organizations. For-profit organizations generally work towards where the business is, right? And the business, if the business is supposed to happen or is easier to happen in a language, every process will follow through it, right? So by Avinash, by your trilingual, I'm assuming you're looking at Mandarin as a third language, Cantonese and English as the first and the second language in no particular order. So yes, if the business opportunities are more China focused, if the business opportunities require language skills, then yes, if you have to conduct business in a market like that, you'll have to accept. And that's not only for China, that's for any market. If you're based in Tokyo, you can't do much work without having Japanese skills. If you're based in Dubai, you can't do much without having Arabic skills with you. So it's not a problem or a situation unique to Hong Kong. It's a global phenomenon. For-profit businesses work with languages. But having said that, Hong Kong and Manulife are, and HSBC as well, they are very large companies regional headquartered in Hong Kong being central for multiple markets within Asia. I think there is enough roles, enough opportunities for English language speakers, English language talent to come work and continue to thrive in their career, which people are doing. So I mean, sound bites, yes, this requires Mandarin, this requires Cantonese, I can't do this. But when you really look at the reality of people, most of us are working in a job which requires English language skills. And there is still enough opportunities for people to thrive in that.
How about you, Alex? What's your view on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think very similar to Raffat. I think I only speak one language, so that limits the opportunity for where I can work across the globe. But just having an opportunity is absolutely good enough for me. And yes, even within PayMe, we've got roles that are very much more customer-facing roles, and those roles wouldn't be appropriate for me. They would only be appropriate for people who have got those local language skills. But as I say, there's different opportunities wherever you look. So I think it's just being able to recognise those opportunities and recognise, certainly from a talent perspective, how to best place that talent into those roles.
Okay, thank you, Alex. All right, so I've got one more question. This is specifically for Raffat about Manulife. Yeah. So I think it's quite well known that the banking and financial services sector is a paymaster, where salary is generally quite high comparing with the non-banking side. So apart from salary, what are the two most successful tactics that Manulife has implemented to attract and retain talent?
Okay, so I'll start off by saying we wish we were the best paymasters. I think other sectors are also doing a lot more. Having said that, any large organization has competitive pay. The size of our business requires us to be very prudent about how we pay, but we look at data points. We have to be in the business. We've been in the business for over 125 years in Hong Kong, and if we were not good paymasters, we wouldn't be, right? So that definitely goes how it is. But apart from salary, I think I'll go back to the purpose. I genuinely feel that as long as people employees are embedded into what the purpose of the company is, what the mission of the company is, which is we make a promise to individuals and companies to be with them in the time of needs. That's really what an insurance company does, provides you a promise on a piece of paper that we will be there for you when you need us. If we are able to embed that and live that promise throughout our life and demonstrate it to our employees are part of the communities that we work in, right? So Hong Kong employees work in Hong Kong, we as a community, and if we're able to connect the purpose of the company with the impact it has on the community, that is probably the best tactic to keep, attract, and motivate and retain employees. That's number one, core forefront of whatever we want to do. Second is culture. We obviously have a culture which we keep on refreshing every day. We keep on making it easier and simpler for us to navigate. At the end of the day, we really want our employees to have fun. We do serious work, but at the end of the day, we also want them to have fun, and our culture is testament to that. We've had very good luck with our staff turnovers. It's one of the lowest in the market in the competition, and we're incredibly proud of it, but we keep at it every day.
Okay, thank you, Raffat. So in caution of time, I will go to our very last question from our audience, Moni. So do you have any new policies due to the new trend, for example, work from home or work from anywhere? Alex, Raffat, or Barisha, feel free to jump in.
I can perhaps tell very quickly. Work from home, like Alex said, it's a reality. It's not a new policy anymore. Businesses had to conduct their business, therefore work from home had to be done. And employers who adopted it, I am a believer every employer will eventually have to give some flexibility to the policy. Manulife has a 2-4-day plus 1 optional day in office policy where you work. You have the opportunity to work from home twice a week, and 2 core days you come into the office, and then we have some flexible timings as well, depending on for most roles. Some roles do require you to be in the office. If you are processing a claim, if you're writing a check, for instance, you have to be there. If you're a bank teller, you have to be in the office. But for roles which could be done anywhere, so work from home policies are there. Working remotely is a slightly trickier concept because of all the corporate tax and laws and all those stuff coming in. It's not that the employers don't want. I mean, if you're working from Causeway Bay or if you're working from Hawaii, really, if you can work, but it just becomes difficult for corporate taxes and all the other things, health and safety, insurance, benefits. Therefore, working remotely is a bit of a challenge, but work from home definitely is a reality.
All right, okay. And Alex?
Yeah, I think, but largely similar to Raffat. Yeah, I think if it's some of the tangible things we've introduced, yeah, we've introduced an allowance for people to claim to be able to fund some work from home kit. Yeah, not an awful lot, I must admit. I think 2,500, but certainly enough for people to buy, a decent monitor, a decent chair, yeah, which is kind of essential if you want to work from home. Similar to Raffat, there are roles within HSBC that, as a teller, you can't work at home, but certainly within PayMe, all of our roles are kind of designated flexible roles. So if people want to spend 5 days of working from home, then they can do. What we've recently introduced is sort of a work styles guide where we're classifying some of the events and meetings that we have based on whether we feel that we would get more value out of them, whether they're in the office, whether they could be remote, and that's helping people understand, that some things are better in person, but not everything. So it's giving people a bit more guidance, which I think was sort of lacking before, because the guidance was very much dictated by the COVID policies. And probably a hidden one as well, but I enjoy it. This is one of the very first roles where I'm turning up to an office in trainers and jeans and a hoodie, and I really quite like that. I've spent 19 years wearing a suit and a tie, and this kind of policy certainly makes a difference to bringing my whole self to work, as Raffat really nicely articulated earlier.
All right. Okay. And any like final words from?
Yeah, so Randstad, I will always want to say nice things about Randstad. We've got a really cool work away program that I think is really nice. A couple of my colleagues have actually made good use of it. You know, going away for 2 to 4 weeks, you log in and out, and it's really, really nice. You can go anywhere. I think what I like about it is that the company is exhibiting a certain degree of trust while allowing a certain degree of freedom, right? So I don't know about how everyone else thinks, but when I think of, you know, work away, I'm thinking, okay, then my company trusts me to do right by them while allowing me to do right by my other aspects of my life. So I quite like it. And what I will say is that if other financial services institutions are thinking of what else they can do, I definitely think that's a good one. During the summer, we also tried an early Friday. So I think we were off by like 3 or 4, which was quite nice as well. So just some ideas, but otherwise, yeah, thanks, Mimi.
All right. Thank you so much for answering all our questions. It has been great. And I think it's very insightful to hear all your views. And I'm sure that our audience have a lot of takeaways. Okay, so I guess this is the conclusion of our webinar, and I have got 3 takeaways for all of you. First of all, I think it's safe to say that Hong Kong and Singapore are both strong markets. There are several advantages such as market access to Southeast Asia, China, IPOs, tech, but it is really down to yourself and how you maximize the advantages of them. And secondly, which is my message to any HR or hiring managers from traditional financial institutions, you guys have years of reputation, historical success, resources, as well as the brand. Use them wisely. You guys bring stability to your candidates. And the message to my clients, our clients in the innovative industries such as crypto, blockchain, or payment sector, you guys bring opportunity for candidates to think outside of the box, flexibility and mobility. To become more, all you need to do is to communicate with them. And finally, each organization has their own strengths and weaknesses. But one thing that you can all do is to communicate with them in every possible way through line managers, HR, attractive JDs, or social media. And also, do not forget the importance of face-to-face meetings, especially in your final stage of interview. As a recruiter like myself, I cannot emphasize how important it is to have the human touch. So let the message transcend in the market. All right, on behalf of Team Randstad, I would like to extend our gratitude to Raffat, the entire Manulife team, also Alex from PayMe HSBC for sharing your practical insights in talent management. Also, I would like to thank all of you who attend our webinar today. It's great to have you guys all here as a community. Just to remind you that today's webinar is being recorded. If you need a copy, then let us know. Also, scan this QR code on your screen if you wish to receive a copy of our Weber reports. Also, if you wish to have a separate conversations about the job market, then let me or Barisha know. We actually have 75 consultants in our Hong Kong office who are very happy to support you or over a coffee chat. And final note, please scan this QR code on your right to give us a 5 stars rating on our Google review. Thank you again, everyone, for attending our webinar today. It's great to have you all here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.